The Titanic was not just any ship, it was a symbol of human achievement, a marvel of engineering, and the pride of its time. The world looked on in awe as it was declared the largest, most luxurious, and, most importantly, unsinkable ship ever built. On the morning of April 10, 1912, excitement filled the air in Southampton, England. Thousands of people gathered to watch as the Titanic prepared for its maiden voyage to New York City. Little did they know, this journey would become one of the greatest maritime mysteries of all time. The ship carried more than 200 passengers and crew. Among them were the wealthiest people in the world, including millionaires like John Jacob Astor and Isidor Straus. But it wasn't just the rich who boarded the Titanic. There were also immigrants and working-class families, hoping for a better life in America. The grand ship promised luxury for the rich and hope for the poor, but no one could have predicted the dark fate that awaited them. As the Titanic glided across the icy waters of the North Atlantic, the mood on board was light and joyous. Passengers explored the ship's many wonders: the grand staircase, the elegant dining halls, the swimming pool, unheard of on a ship back then. Stories were told of how the ship was built to withstand almost any force of nature. Not even God himself could sink the ship, someone whispered one night during dinner. Those words would soon haunt everyone aboard. On the evening of April 14, 1912, the temperature dropped sharply as the Titanic entered a region known for icebergs. The stars sparkled in the clear, dark sky, but something seemed amiss. There had been warnings of ice in the water, but they were brushed off. After all, this was the Titanic, unsinkable, they believed. As the clock approached 11:40 p.m., a sudden and eerie stillness settled over the ship. Then, out of the darkness, a lookout in the crow's nest spotted something looming in the distance. "Iceberg, right ahead," he shouted. The alarm rang out, but it was too late. The ship veered sharply to the left, but the iceberg scraped along its side. The collision didn't feel like much at first, just a slight shudder. Many passengers didn't even realize what had happened. But deep below, in the belly of the ship, water began to pour in through the gashes the iceberg had left. At first, the crew remained calm. But soon, it became clear that the Titanic was in grave danger. The compartments designed to keep the ship afloat were quickly filling with water. The ship could only stay afloat if 4 of these compartments were flooded. But now, 5 were taking on water. The unthinkable was happening. The Titanic was sinking. A sense of disbelief spread through the ship. How could this be? The unsinkable ship sinking? As the cold reality set in, chaos erupted. The crew began lowering lifeboats into the freezing water, but a shocking truth was revealed. There were not enough lifeboats for everyone. Only 20 lifeboats, meant for just over half the passengers and crew, were on board. Panic gripped the ship as the realization hit that many would be left behind. Women and children were ordered to the lifeboats first, but even then, the lifeboats were not filled to capacity. Some were launched half-empty, while others remained on the ship in disbelief, thinking help would arrive soon. The rich and poor stood side by side, facing the same fate. Some men helped their families into lifeboats, knowing they would likely never see them again. Others tried to sneak into boats, while some accepted their fate with quiet dignity. As the lifeboats were lowered into the freezing water, a haunting mystery began to unfold. In the confusion, strange events were reported. Some passengers claimed to see ghostly figures on the decks, moving in the shadows. Others heard eerie sounds coming from below, echoes of something unnatural. There were whispers that the Titanic was cursed from the start, built with bad luck in its very steel. Some even said that objects taken from ancient ruins were being transported in the ship's cargo, cursed relics that might have sealed its fate. By 2:20 a.m. on April 15, 1912, just 4 days into its journey, the mighty Titanic was swallowed by the sea. The ship's lights flickered out, and it tilted upwards into the night sky before breaking apart and disappearing into the black depths. The screams of those left in the icy water echoed through the night. Of the more than 2,200 people on board, over 1,500 perished, freezing to death in the bitter cold or sinking with the ship. But the mysteries didn't end there. Even after the survivors were rescued by the RMS Carpathia, strange questions lingered. Why had the crew ignored so many warnings about icebergs? Why were some lifeboats launched half-empty, while others were overcrowded? And most puzzling of all, why did so many people report strange visions and ghostly sightings on that fateful night? Years later, when explorers finally located the wreck of the Titanic at the bottom of the ocean, more eerie discoveries were made. Some parts of the ship seemed perfectly preserved, as though time had frozen them. Others were twisted and mangled, as if some unseen force had torn them apart. To this day, the Titanic remains not only a symbol of human tragedy but also a vessel of unanswered questions. The sinking of the Titanic wasn't just a disaster, it became one of the greatest maritime mysteries of all time. What really happened on that cold April night? Was it simply a tragic accident, or did darker forces play a part in the ship's downfall? We may never know the full story, but the legend of the Titanic continues to captivate and haunt us more than a century later.